In the 1930s, in Syria, archaeologists discovered 20 Roman soldiers in an underground tunnel. For 80 years, everyone assumed they had fallen in combat. Then, in 2009, a British researcher looked at the evidence again and realized something that changed our understanding of ancient warfare. These soldiers hadn't fallen fighting. They had become victims of the oldest documented chemical attack in history. This is the verified archaeological evidence. Dura-Europos stood 90 meters above the Euphrates River in what is now eastern Syria. Founded around 300 BCE, it was one of the ancient world's great crossroads. Romans, Persians, Jews, and early Christians all lived within its walls. The city contained the world's oldest preserved synagogue and the earliest Christian church ever discovered. And then, in 256 CE, it vanished, abandoned, buried by sand, forgotten for over 1,600 years. Here's the verified location. Dura-Europos sat on Rome's eastern frontier, the border between the Roman and Persian empires. 3 sides were protected by cliffs. Only the western wall, facing the desert, was vulnerable to attack. When the Persians came into 56 CE, they brought an army so large their siege camp was bigger than the city itself. The Romans knew they were outmatched. The siege was commanded by forces loyal to Shapur, one of history's most successful military commanders. The Persians attacked on multiple fronts simultaneously: assault ramps, battering rams, and something the Romans couldn't see: tunnels. Deep beneath the desert, Persian engineers were digging toward the city walls. The plan: collapse the foundations and pour through the breach. The Romans heard them. Through the stone, defenders detected the sound of Persian picks and shovels. They began digging their own tunneler countermine, planning to intercept the attackers underground. The Roman passage ran about 3 meters above the Persian tunnel. The plan was to break through from above and collapse the enemy passage. But the Persians heard them too. The Persians prepared something unprecedented. In the tunnel below, they set up braziers, metal containers for burning. They filled them with sulfur crystals and bitumen, a tar-like substance found naturally in the region, and they waited. When the Roman soldiers finally broke through from above, the Persians were ready with a weapon no one had documented before. In 2009, Dr. Simon James of the University of Leicester re-examined the 1930s excavation records. What he found changed everything. The bodies were unscattered, as if from combat. They were deliberately stacked in a pile at the tunnel entrance. One Persian soldier was found among them, his armor pulled up as if he was trying to remove it, and throughout the tunnel, yellow sulfur crystals and traces of bitumen. When sulfur burns, it produces sulfur dioxide, a toxic gas that rises naturally. In the confined underground space, there was no escape. Dr. James described it as literally the fumes of hell coming out of the Roman tunnel. The soldiers would have been unconscious within seconds. The stacking of bodies suggests the Persians then used them as a barricade while they continued their demolition work. But the weapon claimed one of its own. Among the Roman bodies, archaeologists found a single Persian soldier, the only attacker among 20 defenders. His armor was pulled up around his chest. Dr. James believes he was the one tending the fire. He lingered too long and was overcome by the same fumes he had helped create. Ancient texts mentioned armies using smoke and fire in sieges. But, until Dura-Europos, we had no physical proof. This is the first archaeological evidence confirming what historians only suspected. As Dr. James put it, it doesn't invent anything, we've got the actual stuff on the ground. The sulfur crystals, the bitumen residue, the body positions, it all tells the same story. The tunnel attack at Tower 19 was just one front. The city likely fell through a different breach tower, 14, where the Persians had dug a tunnel wide enough for 4 soldiers to march side by side. Street by street fighting followed. Archaeologists found unburied remains in the military quarter, alongside catapult bolts laid out like ammunition belts, ready for a last stand that never came. Today, over 12,000 artifacts from Dura-Europos are preserved at Yale University. Roman shields, with their painted designs still visible after 1,700 years. Complete horse armor from Persian cavalry. The dating coin found with the tunnel victims marked 256 CE, providing the key chronological evidence. The synagogue paintings, the church frescoes, weapons from both sides, frozen at the moment the city fell. Dura-Europos fell because Rome couldn't save it. The same plague we investigated in our previous video had decimated the legions. 26 emperors rose and fell in 50 years. The empire fragmented into 3 competing states. The garrison at Dura-Europos knew no reinforcements were coming. 4 years after the city fell, Shapa, I would capture Emperor Valerian himself, the first Roman emperor ever taken prisoner by a foreign enemy. The verified historical record shows the sophistication of the Persian assault. Multiple simultaneous attacks, the Palmyrene Gate, assault ramps at Tower 14, and the tunnel operations at Tower 19. The attackers had no time to loot the fallen soldiers, crystal-pummeled swords, and full armor remained untouched. The speed and efficiency of the operation speaks to Sassanid military capability that Rome had underestimated. Dura-Europos was abandoned, buried by sand, and forgotten for 16 centuries. But when the desert finally revealed its secrets, it gave us something extraordinary, a complete snapshot of the ancient world at the moment of crisis. Underground cults, devastating plagues, chemical warfare. Rome's 3rd century was darker than anyone imagined, and we've only begun to investigate. Subscribe to continue the journey.